Hello students, welcome back. So now I'm going to be focusing on string. A string, it is an immutable sequence of characters. What exactly is immutable? Immutable means that anything that cannot be changed. So once you have defined your string, once you have defined the sequence of characters in your string, they cannot be changed. They are locked in. How do you declare a string? Well, I can declare a string using s equal to by double quote right here and write whatever you want to write inside this, and then you end with the double quote. And then I'm printing my s, and then I'm also printing the type of s. When I run this, it prints out the string right here and also prints out the class. It's a string type. You can also use single quote. Doesn't have to be double quote, but make sure if you start with a single quote, it also ends with single quote. So they both are going to work just fine. All right, let's come over here. Okay. Now, indexing. Suppose I have this string right here. Python is easy to learn. Let me comment these lines out. Python is easy to learn. And I print s right here. And I also want to access one of the element. Let's say I want to access an element at index 0. Now in Python, your indexing always starts with 0. Let me increase the size of the screen so it's a little bit more visible. And there you go. So this is my index 0. This is my index 1. This is index 2 and index 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So when I'm saying s square bracket 0 is going to print element at index 0, that would be p, because this element is at index 0. So when I run this, it prints out p right here. What if you want to print element at index 2? That would be 0, 1, 2. So t would be at element at index 2. When I run this, it's going to print out t right there. All right. What if I want to print an element at index 6? Well, you can run this and you wouldn't be surprised. It prints out blank because the element at index 6 right here is a blank line, is a blank character. What if I want to print the last character? Well, the way you print last character is by typing -1. So s square bracket -1. That's going to print out the last character, which is n right here. That would be this. What if you want to print out the last character, the fourth last character from the end? In other words, the fourth character from the end. So in this case, you say s square bracket -4. So -4 would be, this is -1, -2, -3, -4. And the -4 would be e right here. That would be this character right here. Now, if you recall, I explained you the string is immutable. In other words, you cannot change. Suppose I have my string right there, s equal to Republic of Mars, and I access an element. Let's say access the element at 0. And I want to change this R to Z. And I'm using this assignment over here. If I try to do this, Python is going to throw an error because str object does not support item assignment. You cannot change any one of the characters in there. You can read it, but you cannot go back in there and change it. That's what you mean by immutable. So when I comment this line out, run this, and it works just fine. And now the slicing. Slicing is used when you want to print a certain slice of a string, in other words, a part of a string. So you use this square bracket and you specify your start position, you colon, specify your end position, colon, and then you specify your step size. If you do not specify your start position, but default is going to be 0. Likewise, if you do not specify your end position, the default is going to be the last index, the length of your string. Step size, if you do not specify, the default is going to be 1. Let's understand all this mumbo jumbo through an example. So suppose this is my string. Python is easy to learn. And I print s, and I also print s1 colon 7 colon 2. So my start position is 1, my end position is 7 right here, and my step size in this case is 2 right here. When I run this, it prints out yhn. Let's understand this, what's happening now. So this is my string. Python is easy, and a bunch of characters over here. So your p would be index 0, your y would be index 1, your t would be index 2, all the way like this, and your I would be index 7. So I want from index 1 to index 7, from here to here, with the step size 2. So it's going to print out, it's going to start with 1, it's going to print out y, it's going to jump 2 steps, 1, 2, it's going to print out h, it's going to jump 2 steps again, 1, 2, it's going to print out n, it's going to jump 2 steps again, 1, 2. Now, it will never print out the index 7. Python, the way it was designed, was to exclude this index. So it is going to print 1 before that if it's in part of it. Otherwise, it's not. So it's going to print from index 1 to 6 with the step size 2. It's going to exclude your index 7. So it's going to print YHN. And that's how you get this YHN right here. Now, let's print out with index 1, starting position, your ending position is 7. Let's make this things from 7 to 8. Index position, your end position is 8, and my step size is 1. When I run this, it's going to print out YTHON space I. Your index 8, that would fall at, let's see, this would be S. That would be your index 8. Index 8, yes. So it's going to print from index 0 all the way up to index 7, but it will not print index 8. And the step size is 1. Because step size is 1, it's going to print each and every character. Uh, in this particular case, let me just change this to ION space I. In this particular instance, I want maybe from index 1 to index 4, and I'm not specifying my step size over here. So by default, Python is going to use a step size of 1. When I run this, it's going to print from index 1, 2, and 3. So it's going to be index 1, 2, and 3. It's not going to print the index 4. Index 4, as I said, is always excluded. Now let's look at some more use cases of slicing. Same string, printing S, and now let's say I want to print the first 10 characters of first 11 characters of my string. So in this case, I'm going to say S square bracket colon 11, and this is going to print the first 11 characters. When I run this, you can see that it prints out the first 11 characters. If you just want the first 2 characters, run this and it's going to print py, which is the first 2 characters. Okay, next one. What if you want to print from index 8 all the way up to the last element? Well, you can do that too. You can just say 8 colon and leave everything blank. When I run this, it's going to start with index 8, which is S right here. That would be this right here, index 8, all the way up to end. Now, in these particular instances, I'm not specifying this position. I'm not specifying the step size. And by default, if you do not specify your start position, the default is going to be 0, index 0. So likewise, it did not specify my step size, so by default is 1. That is why it's printing like that. Python is E. In this particular case, I'm specifying my start position, but I'm not specifying my end position. So by default, it's going to be the last position, the last index. My step size in this case, by default, is going to be 1. That is why it prints out this way. S space easy to learn. What if you want to print other way around? Let's say what if you use your negative numbers? So colon colon minus 1. What minus 1 means that it's going to go backward. So if I run this, it's going to print everything backward. So if you look over here, what's happening is printing N, is printing R, is printing A, is printing E, L. So everything reversed. So everything gets reversed over here. Now let's take a look at some more examples of negative index in slicing. Same string, Python is easy to learn. And now let me remove this. And now I'm printing S. And in this case, I'm using my start position as -5. My end position is 2, and my step size is -1. So what is happening is going to start from 5th from the last. That is -5 means like you go 5th from the last. And when I run this, it's going to start with L. So this is my 5th position from the end all the way up to the index number 2. Index number 2 is 0, 1, 2. That would be T right here. So it's going to start with L all the way up to T. And I wanted to go backward. That's why I put -1. And this is why it printed L space OT space YSAI. So it's going like this. So it's printing out L space OT space YSAE. And you can see that this is how it's printing. Okay, let's do some more fancy stuff. Let's say I want to print from -12 colon -5. Your -12 would be, let's see, -12 would be A. That would be, yes, from here. This is your -12 position all the way up to -5. Your -5 would be, I want to say, yeah, this position right here. This would be your, this one right here. This would be your -5. So it's going to go from A, sy space to space, and then it will not print L because it always excludes the last position. It's going to go one before that. And this is why it prints out ASY space TO.